Okay, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good PM, depending on when you're going to be listening to this a slide explanation for the Cisco IT Essentials, right? So, in the previous series, we did two series for the first module. So today we're going to be looking at the second module, which is PC assembly. So we want to see what are the components of your PCs. We looked at that in the first module. Now I'm going to say how do we do an assembly, how do we do a disassembly, how do we take away all of the parts, how do we put everything together. Okay, so the model starts from about slide. This is just like a preface, the details of what the content is like. So it starts here. So section. So we want to see how to assemble, how to build, how to install all of those components. Okay, so it starts here. 2.1. Assemble the computer. How do you put everything together? So there is a video explanation in your LMS. Now, the video tells you how to remove your watches, your jewelry. So why do you need to do that? Right, you don't want because some of your jewelry or watches might have metals in them. They're going to be of different static electricity energy compared to your body, compared to your PC casing. So you want everything to be at the same electric discharge rate. So what you do is that, like I said earlier on, you can wear an anti-static wrist strap, or you can place your hands on your case. When you do that, you ensure that you're at equilibrium, you're at the same static electricity rating with your device. So you don't, in quotes, like shock them. You don't have this kind of difference in electricity charge. So that's one of the reasons why you remove your watches and jewelry. Then you turn off or plug the equipment. Make sure your equipment is powered off. PCs don't like abrupt change in voltage. That's why you need to shut them down, because even if you need to put it off, you will need to turn off. That's to say, you will need to shut down. Projectors, PCs, most appliances that have some kind of memory, RAM, processor, they don't like to be cut off. So that's why most times you use backup, you use inverter system, you use UPS and the rest. So you should properly shut it down and unplug from the source. Remove all the clutters from a workspace. Make sure you have a very large surface area. Cover sharp edges inside your computer. Some computers, like the area where you have your hard disks, you have your what's it called, your CD-ROM, the compartment that takes that item, it has sharp edges. So you want to make sure that you cover it up, or you be very careful. Then wear safety goggles, the proper lifting procedures, fire extinguisher in case, so that if there's anything, you could take care of that. Install the power supply. So you have a video of how to do that. Very, very explicit. I won't spend much time on that. Now, open the case and connect the power supply. So you need to be the model number, the size, the power supply, the appearance, the status display, then the vents, what helps for your ventilation. So for your case, what do you need to consider? Larger case often require larger fans because smaller fans cannot create enough airflow. That's just it. So if you watch PCs, you see that the smaller PCs have smaller fans, your bigger PC case have bigger fans, right? So that it can cool. Just like if you have an AC, your AC, 1 horsepower AC is going to be okay for a 10 by 10, that's 10 feet by 10 feet room or an office. But if you have a 50 by 50 feet office, the 1 horsepower AC will not do the job. So you need up to like 3 or 4 horsepower AC to be able to do the job. That's how it is for cooling. So that fan helps in cooling, bringing the temperature of the system down, takes it out through the air vents of your PC. And of course, the fan speed, the number of components. So these all the things you need to consider. Electric connections. Some case fans are connected directly to the motherboard. Others are connected directly on the power supply. Right. So you have your fans inside the power pack to help in cooling. We saw that yesterday. You can also have some on top of the heat sink on your processor. Then you see some systems, especially for gaming systems, you see they can still add additional fans around within the computer, right? And you also, if your desktop are not so much in use, but you still have a few around. If your desktop have slots for power, because the only thing your fans need is just power. So you could buy additional fans and you have the power supply inserted, then you could provide a lot of cooling for your system for proper functioning. So you have type of motherboard, the required wattage. Yes, wattage is very critical. Like I told you yesterday, that for casings you see 1 to 5, as much as 400, 500, 600 wattage for that power pack. So if your motherboard needs high power, of course you have to buy a power supply that is commensurate to that. Because if you under supply power, so your hard disk needs power, your CD-ROM needs power to spin, your motherboard needs power. What again needs power? All of those LEDs that you see shining, all of they need power. Some needs 3 volts, some need 5 volts, some need 12 volts, some need that's all of these are basically DC voltages, whereas some need direct AC voltages, right? So you need to, especially when you are doing cloning, when you're cloning your PC, or um, you're trying to change a bad part. Let's say you had a power outage and it affected the power part, it got burnt, you want to change it. Make sure you look at the spec of that power pack. You're going to see the rating, you're going to see that, oh, it's 250 watts. So when you go to the market, make sure you buy 250 watts or above, right? You cannot buy below. If you buy below, you're not able to supply enough power for that motherboard. So there's a lab, you have install power supply. Um, it's on the LMS, so make sure you go through that. So there's a video demonstration also in your LMS, so that the LMS is very, very, very good for you to make sure you go through. So this slight explanation is just to give you a heads up summary of your modules, right? So make sure you go to the LMS and look at all of the great content you have there. Orient the CPU to the slots, to the CPU slot. Press the CPU into the CPU slot, central processing unit. Apply thermal paste on the. So this thermal paste, what does it do? It helps to glue and helps also provide cooling. So what happens is that thermal paste, it looks like paste, toothpaste, right? That's how it looks like, but a little bit harder. It comes in different colors, mostly blue and green, right? Rarely have I seen black. So what happens is that once that thermal item is heated up to high temperature, it cools. Isn't it awesome? So it's a particular kind of paste, a particular kind of solid. It's pasty. It's not too liquid, right? It's like super. Let's say super glue. uh this tree gum, this tree that produces gums. You see how hard that gum, but still kind of fluid and soft. That's how it looks like. So you have that, and you can buy it in any of the computer stores. If you open any system, you're going to see it there. So it always comes pre-factory installed. So you might, except you are transferring CPUs from one PC to another and it's been scraped out. Aside that, you might not need fresh quantity of that particular thermal paste. So that thermal paste, once on the CPU, before you now put in the CPU, what happens is that once that thermal paste is heated up with high temperatures as the system is working, it cools, right? It cools the CPU. Then install the heatsink and secure the heatsink. So it has a kind of a latch, so you latch it up. So that video explanation is going to give you that explanation. Same thing for RAM, very, very straightforward. You open up the levers, you take up the RAM, you fix it, and you close up the levers, right? You lock it up. Now the thing is that because you have different types of RAMs, so when you're doing RAM upgrades, you make sure that is either you're using a PC1, a PC2, a DD, a SODIMM, which is very old, or a DDR, a DD1, DDR2, DDR3, or DDR4, depending. So because they have notches at different points. Notch is that small hole you have across the RAM. So that hole, that notch is what it uses to lap on the RAM slot, right? So you must make sure that it's identical. You don't force your RAM. It should snap in easily. Okay, so that video explanation, we do that for you. Then, of course, the motherboard, you have a video explanation to that. Of course, selecting your motherboard, you look at the CPU, the RAM. Your motherboard is like the brain of your computer. So that's what takes the RAM. See the RAM slot. So see this notch here, that place where you have a kind of a demarcation. So that's where, so you see some RAMs, depending whether it's DDR1, 2, 3, or 4, or SODIMM, or SDRAM, you see that some have two notches, some have three notches, some just have one, right? So you should be replacing exact same RAM. If you bring a RAM that is two notch and you bring to this place, of course it's not going to go through. So this is what the processor looks like. This is like a heat sink. This is cooling sink also. These are expansion slots. These guys here, the expansion slot. This is for video, right? This is your video graphical unit. So the thing is that if you put your expansion slot here, it comes out here when this CP is encased. So you could have additional USB, additional Ethernet, additional whatever. So all of these are on board. This is your Ethernet, this is your USB. Okay, rather this is your USB. This has 4-port USBs and the rest. So all of the computers. So you see this. This does not use a fan, kind of. It uses a heat sink, except the fan has been removed. So depending on the architecture of the system, the way the system is built, some are going to have this heatsink on top of this and a fan on top of that heatsink. So it all depends on the kind of board. So you have different CPUs and their coolings. Then you have the RAM. So this is the RAM I'm talking about. Like, see this RAM, it just has one notch. So see the notch here. See this hole here. You see this hole here. So these are okay. This is not same type of RAM, right? So they look the same brand, the same company, but different type. So this where the notch of this guy is to this place. See the notch where this guy is to this place, right? Install the motherboard. You have that in your elements. The video demonstration of your hard disk installation. You have that in your LMS. And the optical drive, that's your CD-ROM. Your CD-ROM is normally 2.25-inch, right? It's 13.34 centimeter drive. So you have a video explanation, short video, 2 3 4 minutes. You've seen how it looks like. Your hard disk. So this is HDD, right? It's not SSD or SSHD. So SSD is a more recent hard disk you have for newer generations of PCs. Your optical drive. So this is what it looks like. So this is for CD-ROM. Like we say, people rarely even use DVDs. So for DVDs, so see that I was explaining, I think in the last session in Module 1, if you have a CD-ROM, it tells you that you can just read CDs. If you have CD rewritable RW, you can read. You could also write to the CD. That means that's to say you could burn files to it. If you buy a CD-ROM, it's much cheaper. You cannot burn to it. So whatever content you have there, you just read. Or rather, you could write once. So, but when you say RW, it means you could write over and over. But most of the times they have limits to how much times you could write. Same thing applies to all of them. So you see how you read CD, write CD, read DVD, write DVD, Blu-ray, discs. So this mostly for videos because they come with larger sizes to this end. So the size starts here low, goes here up till this point. So you have your highest size here. You see, okay, so that's that. So your hard disk. So these are like screws. Once you insert the hard disk, you take your screws, fix your screws here, and it latches. You have it fastened. Optical drive. So see your CD-ROM. Put in that. So the steps you follow. You have the video also on the LMS. Okay, adapter cards. So you have different types of cards. I explained this. Said there are different types of cards. So this PCI, this PCI extended. So this is much more older, more recent. So characteristics is terms of speed, right? So you have low speed, high speed, more speed here, and they have different form factors, right? So what can they take? If you want to extend graphics, sound, storage, controller, input output, NIC, that's a network interface card, capture for video. If you want to do that, you could extend. For instance, your PC on board audio is bad, just go get a PCI expansion slot. You open a PC, snap it in, it's come out from the case this other way, and you can now start using that. Mostly they will come with drivers. They'll come with a little software that you could use to install on the PC. And what do we call a driver? A driver is a piece of software that helps a hardware communicate with your operating system. So your what's it called? Your driver is here. You now have an arrow like this. You now have an arrow like this. So you have your hardware. You have your what's it called? You have your operating system. So let's say operating system is what's it called? Let's say operating system is Mac or is Windows, whatever. So you need that driver. You have a hardware, that's your mic. You have your operating system, Windows XP, Windows 2000, Windows ME, Windows 98, Windows 95, Windows 7, Windows 10, Mac, Katana, Mac, um, Big Soft, Mac, all the different versions of Mac. Um, you have it to this end. Your hardware, that's your NIC, your graphics card, your capture, your video, whatever. So they all come with a driver. If you don't have the driver, you could check the manufacturer of that particular hardware on their site. The driver is always there. You could download. Okay, let me just add there in my note. All hardwares, all hardwares will need a driver to operate. So if your driver is not working, it might become non-functional. Okay, that's that for that. So other fun factors. So see all of the adapters, how they look like. See NIC. So your onboard uh, network interface card is bad or it's not working, it's giving you issues. Just buy an expansion slot. Once you snap it in outside, you could snap in your Ethernet in the cable here. For capture video, you see it has audio. The yellow, rather the red and the white is your audio, the yellow is your video. So you need to do recording, or you need fast recording, or you need to do online streaming, and your PC cannot do that fast, or you have an all-in-one system that cannot do it so well. You get an expansion slot, put that there. This comes with higher RAM, higher whatever, higher processor speed, higher speed, able to do stuff very, very fast. Just like you upgrade RAMs, that's how you could do with all of these extension cards. Installation tip, or resize the length of the video card. Yes, I said that earlier on. So you see when you snap them here on this what was it called, on this extension slot, they shoot out here, out of the case. So if you are adding an expansion slot, a PCI slot here for instance, you need to take this out so that it can latch on this vent, right? Installation tip again, some cases have small slots, so you just need to show off what you're replacing. So this is the power pack, right? You need to be sure this is what I talked about, the fans around the body of the PC, right, to provide cooling within the PC. Okay, yeah. So there's a lab, there's a video that explains that for you. Media reader. So this is kind of very old. But people still use this instead of all of these micro whatever. Most people will just get an adapter that has a USB. It's more cheaper, it's more affordable, it's easily, you have, it can go in several types of PCs and the rest. Most laptops have this on board, right? So but you could have an adapter that have micro SD, mini SD, compact, all of these types. So all of these sizes, about 5 sizes, from the small to the very big. Most phones have uses they use mini SD now, some use micro. Digital cameras uses secure digital SD. Bigger cameras like my D600 Canon camera, the nice DSLR camera I use, I think it uses SD, right? So if I need to finish taking photographs, pictures, videos, I need to come do editing or take up all of the pictures so that I can upload it, I could come here, snap it into this particular slot. Or if my PC have this slot, I slot it in. If I don't have, I could buy a card reader. That's what it's called, a card reader. Once you have a card reader, it will have all of these options, so you connect through USB and you're Okay, good. So, wow, Sandix. I could remember Sandix. The very first Sandix I used is a very nice brand I got from the UK. And as at that time, your highest size was, I think, 128 MB, right? If you have that, you're very good. But these days, you have these things come in very, very large sizes. So it's called external. Video demonstration. So there's a video demonstration that explains how to connect your power cables, do all of that, and that's awesome. So just make sure you watch the videos, take your notes, ask questions in the WhatsApp group, and you'll be fine. Okay, install internal cables. Yeah, so you have a video explanation for that. Power cables, right? Now, on your board, you have what looks like two pins, one pins options for power. Now, on your PC, you see, even for a laptop, you have this light that normally blink, right? That shows activity. So this is actually coming from your power pack, or rather, this is coming from the front connectors. At the end of these guys, you have LED lights. What do you call LED lights? Light emitting diodes. So those light emitting diodes, if your hard disk is on, it tells you your hard disk is on. If your hard disk is spinning, it's working. If you turn on your system, those lights they have activity. So this is for your hard disk, this is for your reset. When you press that reset button in front of your PC, this is the light, this is connected to that light there. This is your polarity LED, this is your power, right? So you plug it, so you must follow the what's it called, the labels, right? So it tells you this for HDD, LED. So this where you plug this, so you plug it here, you plug it here. I remember back in the days when you have to troubleshoot systems, you have to remove everything here, have a bare board, and you take a screwdriver, you snap this in, you strike this out, so that you could start up the PC, right? Other than this one, this power tower. So this guy, you snap this guy in. So if you have a bare board, you are cloning the system. If you close this circuit, it's as good as you've switched it on from the front end, right? Okay, that's that. You see that video explanation on the yeah. So that's how it looks like. So at times it comes pin one. Yes, you have this, you have this. So the system panel connectors include this. So if the audio is on, the speaker is on, if the drive, if the hard disk is working, that light that blinks. If this cable from that light, at the end of this is a small bulb that you have shooting out of from the front panel of your PC. So if you don't have this connected, that light is not going to show up. So you make sure it's connected. If not, the light will be gone. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Okay, so this is just like a guide of all of the things I've been explaining to you. Um, I think that is all. You have a video explanation. Please make sure you watch that. Okay, that's all. What have we learned? Building our PC was to consider installing the drives, installing the adapters, installing the cables, all of that. Very, very important. Very, very critical, and you need to consider, especially when you're cloning or when you are changing parts. Make sure that what you're taking out is the same thing you're trying to bring in. Okay, the new terms you learned BDR, BDRE, BD-ROM, buffered memory, CD-ROM, compact flash, all of these terminologies. As you put them in your memory, if you start taking higher IT courses, higher cybersecurity courses, the intermediate level, the advanced level, up to your CISSP, Certified Information System Security Professional, these terms you will see them over and over. So you trying to learn most of these things helps you on your journey in your cybersecurity journey. Okay, that'll be all. I'll stop this.